Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. If you are new here today, please don't forget to click subscribe, give me a thumbs up, but more importantly leave a comment below so I can talk to you guys and help you out with today's video. If you're releasing any music, please go down in the description below and there's a DistroKid link there which will get you 7% off your sign up fee. This video is mainly aimed at guys who are new to Floyd Rose tremolo systems, probably guys that have moved over from like a stoptail or some kind of hardtail bridge. And what can happen is when a guitar gets put together in a factory, it doesn't matter what factory it is, the guys who are putting the guitar together are obviously part of a production line, and one, they're in probably a rush because they've got to do so many that day, and also they will have it drilled into them not to over thread screws, okay, because once you do that it messes the guitar up. You're better off receiving a guitar with screws that are kind of underscrewed, not as tight as they should be, rather than ones that are overscrewed and have got threaded. Now, the reason I've brought this up is because a lot of guitars that are made on a production line that have Floyds on may need parts tightening up when you receive them, because you will be playing the guitar with a factory setup and the guy will only play the guitar for 2 or 3 minutes and probably check it over. It doesn't matter what brand it is, it's the same with every brand, okay? There are certain things that you can do when you receive your brand new guitar that can ensure that your Floyd Rose stays in tune and doesn't give you any problems. Now, there's lots of videos out there covering Floyd Rose issues and Floyd Rose troubleshooting videos. I'm not going to go over all those problems that can occur because so many people have covered them, but what I am going to do is cover 2 problems that you can run into that I think are the most common, and these are involving new guitars. Guys buy a new guitar, they're used to a stoptail bridge. As soon as they get that guitar, they're like, oh my god, what's happening to it? It's not staying in tune. They want rid of it straight away. They lose a ton of money by selling it on. They go back to hardtail guitars when they didn't really need to. All they actually needed to do was tighten some bits of the Floyd Rose system. So, first of all, let's look at problem number 1 that you can run into with a brand new Floyd Rose guitar, or I guess any Floyd Rose guitar. So if you dive down, so that means pressing the Floyd down where the strings go all loose like this, and when you bring it back up it then is not in tune and you hit a chord and it's out, then obviously something is not quite right. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your Floyd. So the first thing to do to troubleshoot this is, if you bring your Floyd back up and your guitar is out of tune, what I want you to do is just do a gentle pull like that, quick nudge on the arm, and then play another chord. And if your guitar is back in tune, which this can happen quite a lot, then what I want you to do is do the same thing again. Dive down on the tremolo, okay, let the tremolo back up, and then I want you to put your ear, unplug the guitar from the amp, put your ear up here where the nut is, pull back on the trem, and see if when it goes back in tune, that little tug on the trem there, if you can hear a click or a popping or a creaking or any kind of noise around here. Sometimes that creaking or that click can make your springs in the back vibrate, that's another sign, but don't worry if it does that. This is the solution to that problem. What has actually happened there is, in the factory, when they screwed the nut to the neck here, again, I'm used Jackson guitars, this problem is not specific to any brand, it happens with all brands. It's just all down to people not wanting to over tighten screws in the factories. It's a production line, they're in a rush, that's all it is. So what I want you to do to sort this out is take the nut completely off. So remove these 3 Allen screws here, take off these blocks that clamp down on the strings, and underneath there, I'll put a picture on the screen now, you will see how the actual nut is screwed to the headstock, okay? There will be maybe 3, 4, sometimes there's 5, but it's rare. But you're probably going to see 3 screws that go through the nut. They are little grub screws, and all it is you need to loosen those a touch, push your nut that way slightly towards the fretboard there, and you will probably see a gap between the nut and the fretboard that will close a bit when you do that. When you do that, then tighten those screws back up underneath, the grub screws that attach the nut to the headstock. Then put everything back together and you'll probably be fine. It will probably solve this problem, because what is actually happening is that little creak you're hearing is the nut is moving. So as you dive down with your trem and all the tension comes off the strings, they slacken, your nut relaxes like that, and it moves back a touch because the tension's not on anymore. In fact, the tension is actually on this side of the nut, between the nut and the tuning peg there. So when you take the tension off this end, your nut goes and it relaxes and it gets pulled back by the tension on these, and it moves away that way. Now when you let go of the Floyd and it comes back, your nut doesn't come back, but the tension on the strings does. When you pull backwards on the Floyd, what happens is it gives a sharp tug on this end of the guitar, more tension here at this side of the nut, and it pulls the nut back to where it should be, near your fretboard, and puts tension back on this side, and that is what that click is that can sometimes set the springs off. That is what that noise is, and that's what causes your guitar to go out of tune. It's just a case of those screws there. Now I've not actually seen anybody else mention this problem in videos, but it's a common thing. Okay, this is super common on production guitars, factory made guitars. You know, obviously customs, you expect them to just be bang on when it's a custom guitar, but when they are made in a factory, you know, it's a case of the guy screwing down the grub screws in the nut to attach the nut to the headstock, and basically not wanting to over tighten it, because what he will do is he will make a dirty big hole in the wood, and that is a big problem to sort out, because what you have to do then is fill the holes and then drive the screws in again. And obviously when they're trying to make as many guitars as they can that day, that's a problem. They haven't got time to go around fixing and putting problems like that right, so they basically just under tighten them. So the next problem is you can be playing your guitar and everything seems fine, and you've been riffing on it for maybe half an hour, whatever, maybe a few days even sometimes, and all of a sudden your guitar will go dramatically out of tune, like basically within seconds, within a strike of the pick, your guitar will just go suddenly out, completely out. And if it's on just one or maybe even two strings and you can't understand it, so you go down here to your fine tuners, bloop, 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 tune it back up, oh, it seems fine again, start playing again, boom, then it does it again, go down here again, do it again, tighten it all up, get it in tune, playing again, boom, gone out of tune again, and it baffles you and you can't understand why. If this is happening to you, then do not worry, because the fix is easy. All that is happening is your saddles here, these are called saddles what hold your strings, these move forwards and backwards, and this is how you set intonation on your Floyd Rose. Now when you slide these backwards and forwards, just like you would on a hardtail or stoptail with the saddles on there, when you slide these backwards and forwards, there's actually a screw there that holds the saddle in place under the strings there. I hope you can see it. It is in a bit of an awkward place, to be honest. It would be nice if someone designed something where that was in a better place, I guess, but they've always been there. But yeah, what's happening is that saddle is just sliding forwards, and there's a massive shift in intonation. So as you hit that string, maybe you've hit it hard, it's just been enough to trigger that saddle off because it's loose and it's slid forward, and you've lost a ton of tuning. You go down here, you try and sort it out, and in the end what you will do is you will run out of screw, so then you'll have to go up there, take the nut off, retune, give some more slack on the fine tunes, and it will probably happen again a couple of days later. But trust me, all that is wrong there is that little screw under there that holds the saddle in place has become loose. So what I would highly recommend to you guys, basically, when you receive a brand new guitar, factory setup, and it's got a Floyd Rose tremolo system on, or any floating tremolo system, the best thing you can do is go around all the screws on the guitar and give them all a little nudge with the Allen key or the screwdriver if you're using the grub screws under the nut, Give them all a little nudge, make sure they're tight, and you probably will not run into any of these problems. Factory setups aren't that bad these days on guitars, in my opinion. They're all playable, and that's what they're meant to be. A factory setup is not an amazing setup, it is basically a setup that enables you to get your guitar out of the box and play it, providing that you know how to obviously tighten the nut screws and do all those little things. But yeah, go over the guitar when it's brand new, tighten all the little screws, and it's probably even worth doing this with machine heads too. You know, on the back of a machine head there's all these little screws here. They're probably the same, you know, go over them, give them a little nudge with a screwdriver. You can even receive guitars sometimes. In fact, I got a Gibson once, and the actual strap button was loose, and when I was playing, and I was very young, but it was vibrating around and it sounded terrible. I couldn't understand what it was, and then I realised it was just a strap button. I just tightened it like 2 turns and it was ready to go. So yeah, it's really important when you get a new guitar factory setup that you just go around and tighten all the screws, and this is super important if your guitar has a Floyd Rose on, and it can stop a lot of panicking over the Floyd Rose. And like I say, when I read on the internet people making comments like, oh, Floyd Rose, terrible, absolute nightmare, blah blah blah, they're really not at all. They're actually really good, and the reason they're really good is because it means that you can keep getting your guitar out of its case and just play it without having to tune it first and turn your tuner on and do all those things, because the Floyd Rose, when it's set up properly and your guitar is set up properly, is designed to stay in tune for a long time. So, you know, I once turned up at a gig, my little boy was actually in hospital, so I basically left the hospital, arrived at the gig, my guitar and amp was already there, I think, and I basically got my King V, which is the white one that you see me with live on pictures and stuff. I basically got that out of its case, plugged it in, there was no sound check or anything. I turned up bang on when the band was supposed to be playing, because obviously with my little boy in hospital I wanted to be away as short a time as possible and get back. I basically picked that guitar up out of the case, played the gig, packed up, and I went back to the hospital, and I didn't tune it or anything. I just knew that it was going to be in tune, because it always is, because it's got a locking nut on, and that's what the locking nut's for. So thank you very much for watching. I hope this video helps you out. I've tried to make it uncomplicated and use as many uncomplicated terms as possible for you guys that are new to Floyd Rose systems. Embrace the Floyd Rose, it's a fantastic thing, and it helps your guitar stay in tune. Do not forget what it was invented for. It was invented to keep your guitar in stable tuning, and that's what it does once it's set up correctly. Thanks very much for watching. Please subscribe, click the bell. Let me know in the comments below if you have any problems with your Floyd Rose. I will probably be able to help you out. By the time you actually see this video, I've refilmed this video. I did it before a long time ago, and it was too complex. Okay, I was zooming in and out of the guitar and all that business too much, and it just got too complicated. I went around every single thing on the guitar and told you what it was called for terminology, and it was just too complicated. I spoke to a young fellow, can't remember his name now, sorry, the other day, and I helped him out with his Floyd Rose, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to reshoot this video for the guys out there that are in similar positions to him. So thanks very much for inspiring me, whoever you are out there. I've forgotten your name, for filming this video, and thanks very much for watching. To everybody else, subscribe, click the bell, and I'll see you all later.